finally happening. He's drawing her. Hello romance girlies, I'm LadyJenevia, and on my channel I talk about entertainment media. Picking up where we left off all of 5 seconds ago, we're going to be talking about Bridgerton Season 4, Episode 2, entitled Time Transfixed. We open on Benedict sketching the lady in silver, and immediately I feel fulfilled for how I longed to see him draw her. Any medium, sketch, paint, make a sculpture for all I care. Just render her image through your own artistic expression. We rewind on all of the romanticism of the masquerade ball to see Sophie still being run ragged by the ladies of the household, but thankfully she has allies in the form of Irma and Alfie, who encourage her to go to the masquerade. They help her get an outfit together, including an old dress from the attic.
What are you gonna wear?
This?
A pair of Araminta's shoes, and the mask that Sophie had already been making as a no longer needed replacement for Rosamund's outfit.
Wanna ride?
We get a brief mention of Francesca's husband John being good with children, and Francesca has a pensive expression. That could potentially tie into her story, though it's difficult to gauge exactly how, because Francesca's book was heavily intertwined with her wanting to have children after a long time of experiencing difficulties with fertility, but that doesn't exactly hold up to happen in a period piece such as this when the endgame love interest is a woman, so we can put that on pause until we get more information. I mean, if it was a modern story, you just adopt or do IVF.
Lesbian pudding?
Araminta summons Sophie because the shoes of hers that Sophie wore to the ball now have a mark on them. Sophie needs to work on getting that mark out, and while she's here, go ahead and polish all of Araminta's other shoes as well, and Rosamund's. That's more or less exactly what happened in the book, except in the book, Araminta orders Sophie to also have Rosamund lock her into the closet until the task is finished. But Sophie asks Posey to do it instead because Posey isn't as cruel as the other two are. As is the case for more or less everything in the show concerning Benedict and Sophie, I prefer the show version because by not locking Sophie in, they give her room to spy on Benedict when he comes by, but we're not there yet because now it's time for a flashback. It's baby Sophie on the day that Araminta arrived.
She's a child!
I prefer the way that they did this on the show because they do enough to make the point of where this began and how everything went wrong, but they don't do it in a way that is as cruel as they are in the book. We don't need to see a child actor experiencing what Araminta does to her in the book. She's much more mean. There is a lot more that happens than just that first scene of her arrival. And to be frank, I don't really want to talk about that in detail.
Don't look at me. I don't know a thing.
Sophie gets to chatting with Irma and Alfie, and the way that they immediately sniff out that the real reason for her current bad mood is that Sophie met a gentleman at the ball, and whomst was it that she met? Benedict Bridgerton.
It's been a long time, baby.
Alfie being excited about the drama and the romance, the enormous grin on his face at uncovering this truth. Maybe he's one of my new favorite people.
Collagen.
Violet is trying to get Eloise to gain interest from the men of the Ton and encourages her to try smiling at the men. And when I tell you I fully laughed out loud when Claudia did this absolutely dreadful grimace of a smile, she's so funny.
Please marry my daughter. I'm not asking for money. I'm literally giving her away.
I can assure you, my attention is deeply immersed in the romance of this season, that being Benedict and Sophie's love story. But again, every time they give Claudia just a quick moment to do her thing, which is to be hilarious and delightful to watch, I feel increasingly certain that I will have fun with her season. She just can't help but be funny. Benedict asks Eloise for her help to find the owner of the glove that he got off of Sophie, with all of those people calling on Penelope to bring gifts and share bits of gossip, and the only thing I have to say about that is, whose cat was in that basket, and may I have it? When Penelope is also informed of Benedict's search for the Lady in Silver, this is a way to set up Penelope being able to say something in Lady Whistledown that might let this mystery lady know that Benedict wants to find her. Now, this was not done in the book because Benedict's love story happened first, and at the time, they didn't know who Lady Whistledown was. Moreover, Penelope seems to have retired from being Lady Whistledown in the book, or at least from what I've read thus far, out of the love stories that were published after Colin and Penelope's book. Again, if you are popping onto this video without having seen anything else from me, I haven't read Gregory or Hyacinth's books yet. I just read Eloise's book for the first time recently.
Flames on the side of my face.
And I haven't read Francesca's book in the last year and a half, so I do need to do a reread in order to refresh myself on some of the details. Benedict and Eloise will be going on a promenade because walking isn't nearly posh enough of a way to explain aristocracy engaging in leisure.
Our friendship is built on our mutual distrust of England.
Once more, we are treated to Claudia's hilarious facial expressions, her absolute disdain at the prospect of being around men. She's very relatable in that way, despite the whole aristocracy thing.
Yuck! Ew! Gross! Ugh!
And as for Benedict, he is busy staring at the mouths of all the women within viewing distance of him. And a quick montage of his unsuccessful search later, doesn't your heart just break for him? He had to suffer through 6 balls and 7 soirees. I'm just nauseous thinking about all the posh small talk. Violet has figured out that something is going on with Benedict, given the things that have been written in the Whistledown newsletters. So Violet tracks down Penelope, who lets her know exactly what it was that they've been talking about. So then Violet goes to see Benedict, who relents and tells her a bit about what has happened, and he shows her the mysterious glove. Violet is able to identify where the glove is from, based on the family crest that is stitched into the glove. This is similar to the book, where Violet had identified the origins of the glove based not only on the family crest, but also on the initials that were stitched onto the glove, which matched the mother of the late Lord Penwood, who's Sophie's father. The gloves had belonged to Sophie's grandmother. Benedict goes to call on Posey since he already met Rosamond at the park, and Sophie is able to steal a glance through a crack in the door. I love this scene because Posey is able to be her funny, whimsical self. Benedict is able to be kind to her when Araminta is trying to dim Posey's shine. Sophie is yearning for Benedict for the romantic night they had together. Alfie is cheering Sophie on to try to get her to tell him who she is. Alfie is like the audience at this point, and I think that's why we like him so much.
Would you relax? You didn't know. He was being friendly. No, we're not going home. Just stop it. No, I did not spend all this time.
But Sophie isn't ready yet. Also, to be fair to Sophie, she is very traumatized from the cruelty she's endured for years at this point, and Sophie doesn't know Benedict the way that we as the audience know Benedict. Oh, and him looking up right when she walked away, that's tying into this sort of mystical connection they have in the book where he can sense whenever she is near. He had this sense that something big was going to happen before he saw her at the masquerade for the first time, and he was also able to sense that she was nearby when she was spying on him at the lake. Benedict is trying to ask further questions about whether or not Posey could be the Lady in Silver, and Araminta is so clever that she picks up on what he's doing immediately. Posey bumping into the window made me cackle. I will always favor a comedy diva, clearly.
Turns out it was a battery-operated rabbit toy.
Moreover, this whole thing of the 3 of them spying on him out the window when he's just left and he's looking at the glove, that's more or less exactly as it happened in the book. Araminta confronts Sophie about her being the Lady in Silver at the masquerade and commands Sophie to try on the shoes. I prefer how this scene is done on the show because in the book, Araminta hits Sophie.
Demon! I will kill you as many times as I have to.
Araminta is a villain on the show, but she's so much more evil and sinister and just downright irredeemable in the book. That detail of Araminta saying that Sophie will never work in Mayfair again is a very important detail to include, because it will limit Sophie's ability to find work there once Benedict brings her back. In the book, Benedict is extremely pushy in a way that I find off-putting. Sophie says no to working for his family, but book Benedict basically blackmails her into accepting the job. In the show, again, I'm jumping ahead a bit here, but we see when she comes back with him and realizes that he's found a position for her in Violet's household, she wants to leave and find a job somewhere else. But Benedict tells her that, unfortunately, no one else wants to hire her. The reason for that being that Araminta has tarnished her name to everyone in the area.
You ever steal anything, Paula? What?
So then it's not Benedict forcing the proximity, it's the circumstances that exist outside of their developing relationship. These are exactly the types of changes that seem really small, but they're absolutely essential ones that I wanted to see happen when I was covering the book in detail here on my channel and going through that source material. It was always a matter of needing to change Book Benedict's personality to instead be how he is on the show and not have him forcing or trying to force Sophie to do things that she doesn't want to do, like work in the Bridgerton household or be Benedict's mistress. We will get to that talking point in more detail in the episode 4 video, so just wait a moment. That video will be coming up soon. At the time of me recording this, I'm probably not going to record that video for another week, but anyway. The staff at the Penwood house say their goodbyes to Sophie and give her a small collection they have put together from their own money. And that right there is exactly why I always have a push-pull relationship with this show whenever they try too hard to make me empathize with the upper class as an institution. Institutions like the aristocracy and monarchy. True camaraderie will only be found among the working class. Those people are having to work for a living. They're doing all of the most basic domestic household things on top of having to take care of their own lives so that the aristocracy can do what exactly? Attend their 50th ball this year? Go on a promenade?
Death to all of them.
That is what Brittany said. She said that
Posey gives Sophie a gift and tries to hug her goodbye, which Rosamund stops Posey from doing. You know what that means, right? At some point in part 2, they're going to finally let those two hug as sisters, and we shall all immediately commence loud weeping, seeing the sisterhood of these two fully realized.
Oh my god!
Once Sophie gets outside, she finds that Posey has gifted her a pair of Araminta's shoe clips. This is slightly different from the book. In the book, Sophie takes the shoe clips herself, but in the later half of the story, this is book spoilers by the way, so there's your warning. In the second half of the story in the book, when Araminta has Sophie arrested, Posey eventually shows up at the jail and declares that she, Posey, was actually the one to take the shoe clips.
It's me!
In the book, Posey is taking credit for a theft that she didn't do in order to try to save Sophie. And in the show, we can presume that she will simply state the truth, which is that she was in fact the one to take the shoe clips. But either way, you reach the same destination, which is that Posey will finally be brave enough to stand up to Araminta, stand up for what's right, stand up for Sophie, and everyone in the audience will cheer, because we love Posey.
Hi.
You had me at hi.
Oh.
Sophie considers bringing them back, but decides not to. Good for her. You haven't been paid any wages for your years of labor. You should take all of her shoes, and all of her clothes, and all of her furniture. Take it all. Sophie tries to pawn the shoe clips, though actually, would it be called pawning if it's back in ye olden times? Aren't pawn shops a modern creation? Or did the word come first, and then pawn shops, as they're known today, were formed to exist around the word that was already in use? Any linguistic historians of the English language, feel free to drop the knowledge into the comments section. Anyway, the shoe clips are fake. They are simply paste, just as they were in the book, but she is able to get enough money from the sale to run away.
Ah! Oh god! Marty! Oh god!
Sophie gets just enough money to be able to book a seat on a mail coach out of London, and then we move to one of my favorite recurring things on the show. Benedict and Eloise on the swings! Listen, I really like these two as a duo. I've liked them having these moments together to chat since season 1. When she talks about being spooked by the idea of Benedict being out of their clubhouse, so to speak, that seems to work well to potentially set up Eloise being next, because in Eloise's book, they talk about how when Penelope got married off, it shook Eloise's reality, because she had it in mind that the two of them would get to be spinsters together, but now that Penelope is happily married to Colin, Eloise doesn't have that company anymore. Given the way that the seasons have changed the order of the love stories compared to the timeline of the books, Benedict being Eloise's closest family member, and then him going off and starting a happy life as a married man after this season with Sophie, possibly at my cottage, Benedict will no longer be around to keep her company and be a confidant the way that he was before. Maybe that will be just enough to shake things up for Eloise to where she somehow ends up in the perfect circumstances for her to find the person that will be her happily ever after.
Oh no, did this feel creepy? I said, don't make it creepy, guys.
Benedict is feeling despondent, so he goes off and finds himself in a drunken haze at Cavender's party.
Ugh.
In the book, the timeline is different. Almost 2 years pass between Sophie leaving London and being reunited with Benedict at the Cavender estate. The book also has the reunion happening under slightly different circumstances. On the show, it is a different maid who is being cornered by disgusting, predatory English men. And Sophie comes charging in to save her from them, and then Benedict has to swoop in to save Sophie from them. In the book, though, it's just a bunch of men just attacking Sophie directly. They've got their hands all over her, and I was adamant when I was covering the book here on my channel that I did not want to see it done that way on the show. And what do you know? They changed it in a way that worked perfectly well to be to my liking. We get to see Sophie being brave and doing the right thing. Neither one of the maids is being touched the way that Sophie was in the book.
What?
It's my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, me too.
During this tussle, a glass breaks and Benedict rolls onto it, so he ends up with a cut on the side of his abdomen. That is different from the book. In the book, he was already recovering from a head cold, so then when they're leaving and it begins to rain, well, I mean, you know what happens when old-timey English people are exposed to weather. They're either about to die or be gravely ill for however long the plot requires. In the show, it is this cut on his side that will cause him to need time to recover. It's the wound that Sophie will tend to, but more on that in the episode 3 video. Cut to a flashback of Sophie and Araminta at Lord Penwood's funeral. Sophie brings up what her father had previously said in a flashback we saw of Sophie as a child, where he promised to always care for Sophie. Araminta claims to Sophie that he left nothing to Sophie in the will. They haven't elaborated on this on the show. But if we presume that they will be staying somewhat faithful to the book, since everything else that I've covered thus far has been fairly close to the source material, I'm going to go ahead and speculate that Araminta is lying here. She's a liar.
I see you, Milan! I see you!
In the book, Sophie's father leaves Araminta 2 different incomes. One is £2,000 a year and the other is £6,000 a year, but she may only have this income if she agrees to shelter and care for Sophie until Sophie is 20 years old. Moreover, there is a dowry left for Sophie in his will, and dowries for his stepdaughters Rosamund and Posy as well. That information is something that the readers know from the very beginning. It's in the prologue of the book, which we read before Sophie and Benedict have ever met. You learn near the end of the book that Sophie's dowry is gone because Araminta has embezzled the money. That's right, she swindled it from our beloved Sophie. And Posy is the one who reveals this information, by the way, because she had read a copy of the will that Araminta had kept.
Hello, this is fraud. On a global scale.
In the show, Araminta is the one to reveal to Sophie that her mother was a maid, and she did this at Lord Penwood's funeral. That's definitely a good way to serve the audience some drama and betrayal. It's a crime of the heart, you see, which just cuts very differently.
It's okay. It's not the end of the world.
No, it literally is the end of the world.
But back to the Cavender estate. Sophie is walking off and determined to find yet another job because she is, as she usually is, in survival mode. But Benedict is a good person with a kind heart, so naturally he needs to make sure he helps her out, and we love him for that. Again, we are able to observe that the material has been altered in such a way that makes sense for these versions of the characters. Benedict doesn't have to be all that pushy for Sophie to come with him. Yes, she doesn't want to go at first, but once he says to her, "You cannot walk in the dark, it is unsafe," and you linger in this POV shot of Sophie seeing how ominous it looks to walk alone at night in England as an Asian woman, say nothing more, she's coming with you. But then it happens. The romance girlies are fed a delicious meal. We get to see the hand touch. He helps her into the carriage, and what happens? Their hands are touching. Bare hand touching. No one is wearing gloves. Skin to skin hand touching. Palm to palm is Holy Palmer's kiss. Didn't you know that? And we linger on the hand touch. He has to stop and ask if they've ever met before. And do you know why? Because he recognizes her on a deep, visceral level. It's a cosmic connection that these two have. Cosmic, I tell you. Overall, another excellent episode. It's not as blatantly romantic as episode 1, but it builds a really important foundation for the audience to learn more about Sophie, who she is, what she's been through, and how this is going to be involved in the relationship and dramatic conflict that will happen for her and Benedict on the way to their happily ever after. We will talk more about that in the video on episode 4, but I definitely think that this is the saddest episode of part 1. Listen, if you've read the book, you know how tragic Sophie's origins are, so even with the revisions the show is making, you have to rip off the band-aid at some point. You have to show the audience what happened to her as a child, show the unpaid forced labor she's been made to do for all of the years since her father died. And believe it or not, if you haven't read the book, this version is the toned-down version. They make it to where it's still a story you would like to rewatch. Sometimes, you can watch a story where the drama and emotional impact is giving exactly what the story needs to, but the trauma of the experience is so extreme that you find yourself never wanting to watch it again. Example of that for me, Bring Her Back. Do you think I will ever watch that again unless I absolutely need to do so for professional research? No, thank you. I know we still have episodes 3 and 4 to talk about, and we will, but just to check in and speak more broadly about part 1, maybe I will also do a part 1 review, but I don't know yet if I will have time because February has Pillion and Wuthering Heights releasing in cinemas, so of course I've already put in my requests for those early press screenings for me to review them. Let me know if you're interested, though, in a Bridgerton Season 4 Part 1 review that covers the 4 episodes, broadly speaking. Stick around because in the next video, we will be jumping to episode 3, which means My Cottage and the Lake Scene. Romance is here.
Your heartbeat is fast.
Sorry.
Try to focus.
Okay.